Hi, have a look at this Microsoft Power Automate community thread. So the question here is how to delete image field from Dataverse. Okay, so I have got a table called sport and I created a column called picture column. That's an image type. Yeah. So Dataverse supports different type of data types. So this is one of the data types. And this is what it's going to look like. So it's a sport record. And here I'm going to create a picture. So it doesn't matter what type of picture I'm going to upload here. It's a sport entity, but just for the test record, I got a fruit record here, a fruit picture here. Okay, that's called orange. There we go. And I'm going to save the record here. Right. Okay, so how to delete this? Okay, so the challenge here is we can't delete using the standard Dataverse connector. Okay, so that's the documentation. The documentation says here, it stores under the Azure Blob Storage, and the only way we can access is through the API, right? So through the API, we can delete this. So the syntax is something like this. We need to pass it. We need to, pass the entity name, which is a sport entity, and the record ID of that entity, and then specify the image attribute. That's the key here. So in my case, the image attribute name is a JB underscore picture. Okay, so let's start building the flow then, right? So for this, I need to put some authentication tokens and then getting the access token from that. So for this, I need to register, under the Azure, I need to register it and I need to create the authentication. Um, Sorry, not the authentication, the API permissions, which is a dynamic CRM. That is a database at the end of the day here. And also, I have to set the secret keys. Yeah, certificate and secret keys. So there are certain things I need to do here, and also, I need to get the client ID and all that from there then. Right. Okay. So once the registration is done, then we need to create an application user in CRM. So what I will do is I'll create another video about how to do this just for the authentication part. So I'm going to skip the authentication part from this video. So my steps here is I'm using the get authentication, and here I got client ID, secret key, and the resource configuration. Okay, so let's run this flow then. So I'm going to say demo Dataverse delete image. Okay, so let's test this flow. Okay, so see, I got the authentication token now. Okay, so that means we can use this as a authentication token for the next step to communicate the blob storage to delete the image. Right, so that part is done. Right, the next step is I'm going to use the Dataverse and go to the list rows, and that's my sports entity called sports. Okay, and add the next step compose and getting the sport ID here. So that's identifier. Here we go. That's a sport unique identifier. That's the GUID of the record. So the GUID of this record. Yeah. Okay. Because I'm using the list rows, it's going to put and apply to each loop. Okay. The next step is now we got the ID now. So next step, I'm going to add another compose. Okay. So let's rename this to ID. That's the record ID. Okay. And then what we want is we want the URL. So I'm going to construct the URL here for the HTTP request API. So this is where it's going to look like. So my domain name, then the API data v9.1, and the my entity name, which is AJB underscore sports. That's my sports entity. Yeah. Then in brackets, I'm going to map the record ID here, that is output, or you can map directly the sport ID there also. So I'm just using a combos here just for the debugging purpose. It's good to know what exactly it's been gone through every step. You can do it in one step also if you want, that's okay. So now then the key here is slash AJB underscore picture. So remember, that's my column name here. Okay. And also remember the ID is the record ID. Okay. Right. So that's done. The next step, we need to use HTTP. That's a premium connector, and I'm going to use the delete method, and the URI is the previous URL, which is the output from there. And then we need to do one more thing here under the header. I need to say content dash type is application slash JSON. Then under the authorization, I can say bearer space the token. The token is the one we got from the get access token. Okay. So I'm going to search output again here so I can see that quite easily by the filter. So get access token. Okay. So save the record. So remember, just before I'm running it, I'm going to show my record here. See that? So the record is still here. I'm going to refresh it. Yeah, still the picture is still there. Okay, let's run this flow. Okay, flow ran successfully. So it got the access token and executed the list rows. I know I only got one record in my list rows for that record. I captured the record ID, which is the GUID of the CRM record ID, and then construct the URL, using that syntax which I mentioned. That's your domain name, API data, and then the record ID. Then the important thing is slash your, the image type column name, which is AJB underscore picture. And then the next step is the HTTP delete. So if I go back now, okay, let's refresh this page and see. See, that is deleted now. So this is the way you can delete the image, images from the Dataverse. So the column data type is the image. Yeah, all these are explicitly, explained in the documentation. What's the, the URL for that, and also the storage. It says here where it is stored, Azure Blob Storage. So it's got a lot of documentation also here. So I'm going to put this in my video description also, and also I'll put the syntax of the deletion of the REST API as well. Thank you for watching. Hope this is useful.